Let's bring in somebody from that office. Deputy District Attorney John McKinney is with us. He's a supporter of the recall of George Gascon. He's often come on to our show to criticize George Gascon. John, what do you make of this?
Well, good evening, and thanks for having me back. I think it was a really scary situation. I watched the video, and I thought, man, thank goodness Dave was facing the direction of the perpetrator when he rushed him, and then was able to get back on his feet quicker than the perp. So who knows how this would have turned out if Dave wasn't ready for that. But now, as a legal matter, there are a few things that one has to consider. And I think probably the biggest question, all lawyers would agree, is where was this replica gun/knife at the time of the attack? Was it in his hand or was it concealed? Because that's going to determine what charges can be brought. And not all charges that can be brought are felonies. The most obvious is assault with a deadly weapon, to wit, a knife. That would be what most people would think of first. But that requires that the knife be used in the assault. So if the knife wasn't in his hand, if it was concealed, say, in his backpack or somewhere else where he didn't have immediate access to it, you couldn't bring that charge. I think there's good evidence to believe. I know there's been some conflicting reporting on where the replica gun/knife was at the time of the attack. Some say it was in his backpack. Some say it was concealed on his person. Others say he pointed it at Dave as he approached. But the DA's office took the position after watching the video and slowing it down that he didn't have anything in his hands when he lunged at Dave. And the city attorney seems to agree with that, because I noted the city attorney did not file assault with a deadly weapon as a misdemeanor, which they could have if they believed the evidence supported it.
So you rarely agree with your boss, the DA, but on this one you do. Let's make that clear, correct?
Well, I agree that based on the facts as I know them, and I should say I did not review this case, and of course I don't speak on behalf of the district attorney or the office. You know, when you are not the one reviewing the facts for yourself, you can't speak with the greatest amount of confidence. But from the reporting that I've seen in the video that I watched, the declination that was written by the deputy DA who did review the evidence, and the charges filed by the city attorney, I would have to say that it was reasonable to not file a felony in this case.
Phil.
John, you heard your former colleague Mark DeBow. I mean, is this what you call a wobbler? I mean, if a felony had been filed, is that justifiable? I mean, if he did have the weapon on him, you're saying it's strictly a question of where it was and whether it was like brandished or pointed or used?
Well, assault with a deadly weapon is a wobbler. The elements are the same. It could be charged as a misdemeanor or a felony depending on the facts and circumstances. And possession of a dirk or dagger is also a wobbler that could be filed as a felony or misdemeanor. But possession of a dirk or dagger is a law that's very specific. It has to be a fixed blade weapon or a folding knife that's in a locked position. It has to be capable of ready use to cause great bodily injury or death. And the DA's office took the position that this replica gun/knife was a folding knife that was in a closed position at the time of the attack, so it wouldn't qualify as a dirk or dagger under state law.
First of all, this term dirk is like something from the 1500s I never heard before, which is fascinating to me. So, but if I'm the DA and I'm facing a recall because people accuse me, rightly or wrongly, of being, quote, soft on crime, and I, have this opportunity to send a message, why aren't you filing? I mean, I'm not trying to put you in a position of defending Gascon, but why isn't he filing the most stringent, strongest, toughest case against this guy? As all of a sudden he has some attack of conscience?
Well, first of all, I think it's unlikely that the district attorney himself was involved in this filing decision. I can't say for sure he wasn't, but under normal circumstances, this isn't something that would necessarily land on the DA's desk.
Yeah, but
these
are not normal circumstances. These are not normal.
Right.
These are not normal circumstances. This is a high-profile Hollywood case. You have specialized units for this thing in every law enforcement agency.
Well, I understand that, but we deal with high-profile cases involving celebrities all the time. So whereas that might not be normal for the rest of the country, it's pretty normal for us. With regard to what the DA can file, he can only file charges that are supported by the evidence. Whatever his political prospects are, whatever the situation he's facing politically, he can't just prosecute people to send a message or to curry favor with the public. That would be illegal, and he couldn't find a deputy DA to go along with that. I happen to know the deputy DA who reviewed this case and made the decision to decline felony charges. She's a career prosecutor. She's been in the office as long as I have, and she's a straight shooter. She calls it as she sees it. Now, whether she's right or wrong may be up for debate, but I don't think anybody could question her integrity.
And lastly, let's talk about the recall itself. You've been a supporter of that. The signature gathering campaign is well underway. Where are things at on that?
Do you have enough? Will you have enough by the July 6th deadline?
Well, I'm optimistic. I got to tell you, the latest numbers that have been reported are over 400,000 signatures in hand. There's a new effort to engage in a direct mailing campaign where it's hoped we'll get at least a 10% return on 3 million pieces of mail. There are a lot of volunteers going out during the week and especially on weekends to gather signatures. You have a lot of folks who tend to wait for the last minute to sign the petitions, and hopefully they'll be signing them and getting family and friends to sign them. So I think there's reason to be optimistic that we're going to get across the finish line. Still got a long way to go. We still need contributions, volunteers, and signatures, because we probably need about another 300,000 signatures to be able to have enough validated signatures. But, you know, I have to say that there's a light that can be seen.
Well, you have 8 weeks. You have 8 weeks to do it. So, all right. As always, Deputy DA John McKinney, thank you for being with us tonight. And Phil, thanks, of course, for your reporting.